going to show us how to decorate the cake.
Well, yeah. So people are thinking, well, how can you decorate a cake?
Well, it's still in the oven.
But I have prepared one earlier. It's moving out.
And then, so obviously you're not going to decorate your cakes in front of the oven.
No. When it comes out, I've taken the brown cardboard off this one. But when it comes out of the oven, I just leave mine, on a wire thing to cool. But I always leave mine in the tin.
Oh, okay.
I don't take my cakes out of the tin, and I leave the wrapping on. Remember how we wrapped it up, and let it cool in the tin.
Take the cake out of the tin, leave it in the tin. Is there some rule around that?
Well, the idea is that you're wanting to cool the cake, and there's also fact about the condensation that comes because the cake's still in the tin. But to me, the moisture that's in there, I want it to stay in there. I don't want it floating around the room. So I tend to, and plus there's always a danger that the cake is very fragile when it's warm. When it comes out. So by allowing it to cool and cool right down and being supported by your tin still, then your cake is sort of safer. Anyway, that's what I do. I know most of the recipe books tell you to almost tip them out almost straight away, but I never do.
Okay,
so
we like to hear when you go against the grain.
Well, yes.
Okay.
So I know that people have different views on that, but I never do. So we'll try to do this in front of everyone. You know how she said she does that so it comes out with easily. Okay. It's still slightly warm because it was only cooked today, but that's it coming out of its tin. And
there it is.
There it is. And you can see it's not got hard crusty sides or hard crusty top. And what I did when
amazing.
Well, what happened what you didn't see me do, but when it came out of the oven, I'd used that. This is what I soaked the fruits in. And when I drained my fruits, that was a little bit of the residual, and I just painted the top with a brush. Just a brush too, and that's how I sort of soak it.
Okay.
But I know lots of people like to sort of put alcohol, just pour it straight on there. To do this and pour it in, but I personally find that too strong. I prefer to use what's there. So that is it's still a bit tender, as you can see. It's sticking to my fingers because it's still quite.
So you might have to leave it for quite a while because that cake, when did you cook that cake?
Well, I cooked it earlier today. It's still it's cool, but this is a cake. You see, it's nice and tender and moist because of the way the recipe and the way we've cooked it.
There's nothing worse than a piece of dry fruit cake.
Well, that's right. I think that really is what puts people off fruit cake. So a cake is especially tender. So what you can, I'm sorry, I'm coming out of the shot again. But look, you can decorate your cake however you like. Some people like to ice their cake because have it more like and some people just like to leave it, put some fruit and nuts or something on top. So what I just thought I would show people if they wanted to do was like the frosted fruits, which is just a simple way. So you might leave your cake like this, or you're storing it perhaps for closer. So wrap it up in something, put it in a freezer bag, put it in the fridge, and that will keep. But when you're ready to sort of serve it, or the day of perhaps you're wanting your cake to present your cake and have your cake, you have to do this frosting fruits. But I'd be interested to know what you're planning to do with your cake, whether you're going to just leave it plain like that, or whether you're going to put something on your cake. So thank you very much, Sheridan. These are thank you. And this in that little cup egg white
And sugar.
and sugar. So this is egg white.
Oh. Can anyone hear me? Yes, yes, Quentin.
We can hear you.
Yes, you can.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
We've got you on the large screen, Quentin. Go ahead.
Right, sorry about that, but we've had significant internet dramas here today. But we've been following, and I think the outtake's still cooking.
Excellent.
Looking forward to it coming out.
Good.
Rob and I have just about finished the six-pack.
Excellent. I hope, Sam, I hope you're having a chilling drink, and Tanya as well. I hope you're getting nice and relaxed there.
Yes, of course.
What's that?
Said, yes, of course I am.
Excellent.
Is that yeah.
Yeah. And is Andrew with us? Or have we got Andrew on board? While everyone's having a nice relaxing beer, Gillian's going to go through.
Well, I just thought I'd just show this people one little technique that you can use, which is very, very simple. And I've just remember how I weighed my eggs, and mine are organic, free-range eggs, right? So, I had a little bit extra egg. I'm just using the white though, and not the yolk. And basically, you're using like your egg white glue to just. You might want to use some fresh fruits. And I've just got some cherries and grapes and that here, or some nuts. There's some lovely organic Brazil nuts here. Or you might like to use some Andrew's lovely dried fruit on top. So these are muscatels, or some glacé fruits. It's very easy to do. Have you done that with your fruits at all, Sheridan? Glacé fruits?
No, I've never made
These are figs. These are oranges.
Oh wow! So you've made these?
Yeah. It's very so simple to make them. You know, you just.
I thought they just came in boxes.
Oh, they can come in boxes. Somebody else can do it.
Before we go into how, I'll just say Sam has to leave very soon.
Okay.
So I just want to say thanks a lot, Sam, and
Sam, yes,
we
thank
apologise
you.
for our technical glitches, but we really appreciate that you joined us today. And it was great to hear what you had to say as well. And we want to keep connecting with you, and I think this is a conversation that we really want to keep going in a much bigger way and reaching out to a very broad audience. So we really love what you're doing. So thank you.
So I'm just gonna put a little bit of variety of all of the things on mine. And
Is that edible?
No.
Okay.
But it's safe. It's a plant.
Oh, it is a plant.
It's not going to. We're not eating this. But this is just for decoration. And it's nice and washed, so there's nothing on it that wasn't in there. But basically, all you're doing is this is one of the lovely things I love doing with my flowers from my garden, my edible flowers, crystallizing. So you're just putting a little bit of this on, not a lot, and you just sort of.
So that's how you created this beautiful looking fruit in the photograph.
Well,
in the photograph of our cake.
And that beautiful photograph was styled and photographed by Kialla.
Yes, so thank you to Kialla.
So look, just do little things like this.
Wow, that's, I didn't know.
Which is just a lovely thing to do.
So how do you do glacé fruit? How do you do that?
You're basically, you're infusing it all the time in a sugar syrup. Okay. So you're almost through an osmotic effect. The moisture's coming out, and the fruits just keep soaking up sugar syrup. So it takes a little bit of time, but again, it just tastes so delicious compared to, say, some of the ones that you buy at shops. So it's a very simple technique, and as I say, you can do this with your flowers too.
So that's how you. So you actually you paint the egg white, and I didn't realise that it was that easy. That's
yeah, and it's just a.
And will you crystallise the nuts too?
You can crystallise
Was that your intention?
No, I was actually going to leave the nuts sort of more plain.
Okay.
So you've got different sort of textures on the cake. I'm going to use a few breaks as well. So how are you going to decorate? How would you decorate your cake, or how do you?
Oh, Gillian, probably I wouldn't decorate it at all. I just eat it. But no, I think it's great to do that. And of course, for Christmas, then you're going to put it on display. Yes, I just know nothing about cake decorating, and you just make really beautiful cakes. Well, all you have to do is go to Gillian's Facebook page, and she's constantly posting photos of really beautiful cakes. So check them out. I recommend just. You know, you can just Google it. Yes, Google and Google. So, why? Sorry, you just put the whole yes.
Yeah. And you just got, you know, it's just you're just building a little piece of art here.
Yes.
And and you can just put as much on your cake, or leave it as plain as you like, or dusting of icing sugar.
So while you're building that creation. Perhaps we can go back to our guests who are still with us and whisper. We have Tanya and we have Quentin. Yes?
Yes, we do.
Excellent. Okay. So Rob and Quentin, we've you missed out on our kind of our meaty conversation about agriculture in Australia and what we need to be doing to kind of support our farmers and that sort of thing. Rob, you're a farmer. You've grown up on a farm, and you've been a farmer essentially all your life, as I understand. And you also are the grain buyer for Kialla. And you're well aware. You get around a lot to a lot of the farmers who grow the grains for Kialla. So you're well aware of the challenges that organic farmers face. And of course, one of the biggest challenges about being a farmer that you don't necessarily have, say, so much if you've got animals like sheep and cattle, is that the weather can just completely, just a rainstorm at the wrong time of year can completely destroy the crop. So it's a huge challenge being a farmer. And I guess one of the things that I always find quite fascinating is the resilience of farmers. I think that's something that's fantastic too, that it's really, you just got to keep a positive mind frame really through the whole thing. So Rob, what would you like to say about, what keeps you going? What keeps you farming? What do you love about farming?
The last thing I heard was what do I love about farming?
Yeah.
The challenges. That's about as much as I can go there. The challenges. No, it's a good way of life.
It's a good way of life. And what is that? What I mean is it? Do you get a sense of freedom from it? What is it that you love about it? That you get to choose what you do and when you do it, kind of thing. You're not kind of beholden.
When you sort of see something at the end of it sometimes. Well, you can see the results at the end if you've actually achieved something. I suppose it's no different to working in manufacturing or something. You get to the other end of it and you've actually produced something.
And how's your cake coming along?
It's awesome. Hang on. Yeah, no, we've done a really good job with it. It's only about 2 or 3 minutes from coming out.
Fantastic. Wow.
Can you smell it, Rob? Can you smell it, the cake?
You want to smell it? Yeah, it's a good one.
You said it's coming out soon.
So Matt has joined us too.
Matt, can you unmute?
Very beautiful looking cake here.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
It hasn't quite finished yet.
Yeah. But anyway, that's just.
So Matt, can we hear you?
Yay.
Where's Matt? Matt's from the dairy farm.
Yes, Matt's from the Australian Organic Dairy Farmers.
Farmers, that's excellent. I'm looking for, I can use their butter.
Yes, the great thing about Australian Organic Dairy Farmers is that now we can get Australian organic butter much more easily. So we have to say thank you to the Australian Organic Dairy Farmers for that fact that they now have a butter factory that's making butter in Camperdown in Victoria. Because it's been a real challenge to find Australian organic butter. You know, you can get organic butter, you can get Danish organic butter, but yes, it's great that now it's going to be much more easy to get Australian organic butter. And the other thing that was interesting about Australian organic dairy farmers is apparently they make about 75%, well, the cows make 75% of the milk, the organic milk in Australia. So that just tells you what a small amount of organic milk there is being produced in Australia. So that's certainly
that's right, and then they're needing that cream for butter.
Yes, yeah, and then they also make fabulous cheese and you know, with an artisan French cheesemaker. So you know, look out for those fantastic cheeses. So Matt, can we hear you?
I'm on the phone with Matt now, and we're working on his audio. We'll get him on here shortly.
We'll move back to Quentin and Rob. Okay, so Quentin and Rob, you're there, the cake's happening. You've had a few beers, you're having a good time. We're finally connected on the internet. And I guess one of the things that we talked about a bit earlier that you weren't here for, and I had to kind of fill in the discussion with my limited knowledge around flour, we were talking about the difference between, Tanya mentioned corn flour, and that she often uses the maize flour and corn flour for the cakes. And we also talked about the difference between types of wheat flour, and how a lot of people talk about, actually a lot of people have mentioned to me that what they really notice when the difference between when they actually use certain type of flour and then they use a different type of flour. And Quentin, would you like to tell us a little bit, and maybe Rob as well, because you're the one who goes around and visits the farmers and decides when the, you know, as I understand it, there's actually not a lot of organic wheat grown in Australia either, is there? So I guess the challenge is, you know, really, even if someone's crop perhaps isn't, you know, there's a lot of things that actually affect the quality of the wheat crop. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about the things that affect the quality of the wheat and how that quality of the wheat then affects the quality of the flour that we're getting.
Where is the main one?
What if obviously it doesn't get enough rain, but then it can get too much rain, and then there's all this thing about when it rains.
Basically, you want to plant it into a full moisture profile in your soil. It depends on what sort of soil.
Okay.
As to how well that's going to grow. If you can get it to sort of when the wheat's flower and growing very healthy, you sort of need more rain as it's forming the head. Otherwise, you'll have a great big plant, and if you run out of moisture, then the heads will end up with shriveled up little grains.
I'm really having trouble hearing you. I don't know how this is going.
Yeah, if you plant your crop in a full moisture profile in the soil, once it comes to flowering, that's sort of the crucial point. You still can't hear that very well, can you?
Quentin, what have you got to say? Are you allowed to speak in the crop?
Speak up, buddy.
The volume's been turned up.
I'm sharing the same technology, so it probably won't come.
Oh, it must be the volume of the voices.
I think,
natural speaking.
yeah, I think it's the volume of your natural speaking voices, as Gillian says, because we can hear you. Or you're speaking louder. I think. Maybe you can translate for us. What did Rob say?
Well, what Rob was saying, ideally you plant your wheat crop into a full moisture profile, which means your soil is full of water effectively, or full of moisture.
Okay.
And then as the wheat comes into the flowering stage, you ideally need another fall of rain at that point. So it's not necessarily about having a whole heap of rain at one time. It's about having good rain at certain points through when the crop is growing. And if you have too much at certain points, well then that will affect the plant just as much, or in a different way than actually if you don't have enough. So then the next stage is then, like if you have a lot of rain and you might have a lot lower protein in the wheat. So that's a function of yield of the crop. So if the crop yields a lot more as a result of rain, it'll probably be lower in protein, which affects the baking qualities of the flour. So from a flour milling point of view, we want to see a wheat that is 12-13% protein. That's ideal, or possibly even 14%. But if you, in the last couple of years, we've had reasonably big crops, and we've had low protein, which has an effect on the bread making aspects of flour.
So when it comes to the rosella wheat, which is what we use in the cake flour, what makes a good rosella wheat crop? You know, because it is a lower protein and good flour, so it's a different species or variety, as I understand it. And
it's a different variety. Rosella is a low protein variety. Rosella is a specific.
What about now? Can you hear that? Right.
We can hear something else coming in now. That must be Matt.
Bloke in the background.
Right, I'll shut the phone down now. See ya.
He's on.
Okay, we have Matt.
At last, we've figured it out. The computer's given us grief, and we've missed emails, and eventually we've got here.
Oh, oh, well, that's good. That's great. Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for persevering and joining us, Matt. So, that's excellent. We're just having a conversation around wheat, and then we can move on and talk about the dairy. So just to finish off, Quentin, coming back to the rosella wheat, it's a variety which cake flour. It's a variety, it's a specific variety of wheat that's high protein. Would it still require the same thing, like you say, you know, to get a good crop, you need the rainfall just before it's harvested? It still has pretty similar weather requirements, or is there a reason it grows? Does it grow better in some climates rather than others?
Yeah, well, rosella is naturally the variety produces a lower protein wheat, so it's grown specifically for lower protein flours, like the cake flour that we're doing tonight. That's a low protein flour, and it's more. Sorry.
Someone's talking over us. I think so. Matt, you might need to mute your mic for a minute until we talk to you again.
All right. Seems later.
We're hearing background noise, or someone's talking to someone in the background.
Yeah, I think it's stopped now.
Yeah. Sorry, Gwen, you go on.
So rosella is a specific low protein variety, and in similar growing conditions, it will naturally produce a lower protein wheat, which is what we use for the cake flour that we use tonight. So that's it's known as a low protein or a soft wheat. So there's a number of different terms you use, but soft flour or cake flour is made from rosella wheats.
Where is it mainly grown, Rob? Quentin, the variety, the rosella. Does it grow in what parts of the country does it grow in?
Our rosella is grown in the northern rivers, so northern New South Wales.
Okay, beautiful soils.
And is it that the why is it grown there and the harder wheats are grown in? Is it a soil thing that it grows that type of wheat grows better in the sort of soils there in the Northern Rivers, as opposed to, I know because we have wheat that grows in central Queensland, for example.
You can grow Rosella pretty much anywhere that you grow normal, the higher protein varieties. But the farmers that we use to grow Rosella tend to be in northern New South Wales in wetter climates. So it handles wetter weather, more high rainfall climates better than the prime hard varieties.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
And the kind of wheat, Rosella is one variety of wheat. What's the name of another wheat that, like perhaps the bread baking?
There's 1,000 different varieties of high protein. Strzelecki, Hardog, Cunningham. The list's never ending, and they've all been developed over the years for different attributes, whether that's yield on farm or whether it's actual yield in a milling sense or yield in a baking sense. So over the years they've been bred to both perform at all different levels. So all different varieties have different strengths and weaknesses at the farm level, at the milling level, and at the baking level.
Okay. And one of the things that we hear a lot about now, I know that what happens in the US is different to what happens here, but we hear that a lot of the conventional wheat is a form of hybrid wheat, and the way I understand it, it's like a single hybrid sort of species, if that's correct terminology, which is kind of, disseminated through the conventional wheat farming land. Is that a kind of misconception, or is there a number of hybrid varieties of wheat, or is it just in conventional farming there are less and less wheat varieties, whereas in organic farming there are more wheat varieties?
Well, a lot of the varieties that our farmers use tend to be traditional varieties or open pollinated, so they save their own seed and re-sow seed that they know, crops that they harvested previously. There is a lot of theory that the modern day hybrids are more suited to commercial baking as opposed to the style of baking that we would do at home or our artisan bakers would do, which is more hands-on and more intensive. Some of the hybrids have been adapted over the years to suit big commercial baking operations that use a lot of improvers and a lot of other additives to perform. So we tend to stick with the varieties that probably more traditional varieties or older varieties that have a track record at the baking level with minimum other inputs to support them, so to speak.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. It's good to know that kind of thing, because I actually think that there's a lot of of course there's a growing number. I think I saw somewhere the other day 18 million people in the US have gluten sensitivity, and it's obviously it's a growing issue. Another thing that one of the things that's often sort of presented around gluten sensitivity is this idea that it's a specific, it's the way that conventional wheat has become, it's the specific type of wheat that's been bred that's the major sort of conventional wheat species, I guess you'd say. There's certainly one notion around that it's much better to eat a broader variety of wheats in your diet rather than this one, because we eat a lot of wheat in a lot of products, like bread, pasta, pizza, cake, etc., etc. And if you're eating conventional flour, you're eating this kind of one hybridized wheat, whereas it's much better to eat a variety of things, which makes sense because it's always a good thing to eat a variety of things in your diet rather than one thing. What do you think that there might be something in that idea that the organic wheat, because you're getting a bigger variety of wheats in your organic wheat, that that might have that is actually a better way, you know, that's one reason that it's better to be eating organic wheat?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. Definitely, variety has an impact, but as much as anything, I think it's also the baking process. Again, if you look at the type of process that, say, one of our artisan bakers would have, as opposed to a commercial operation, which uses a lot of improvers and takes a wheat flour to a baked product in sort of like 2 hours, 3 hours. Whereas our artisan bakers will take that same process may take 24 hours, 30, you know, or even 48 hours because of their proving processes, and it gives I'm not a baker, but it gives the gluten structure. There's more time for the gluten structure to be broken down through that proving and resting process. Therefore, it's more easily digestible than, say, a commercial bread that is, as I say, made in over a space of 2 hours, 3 hours with a lot of improvers. So it's more easily digestible as a result of the baking process, as well as possibly the variety of wheat.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's certainly where I come from. That I believe that the whole, especially like the slow food movement, understand that, you know, bread used to be made with long proofs. What's happening all the time, you know, they're breaking down the enzymes that are in there start to break down and take foods to different states. They're natural processes. But what happens in, you know, bakeries where it's commercially done, they're adding additives and things to it to actually speed up what is process. And that, you know, it's almost overriding, bypassing the natural process. So the fact that, you know, the baker can be there in the morning and then at 9 o'clock you've got this fully cooked bread all hot out of the oven, you know. It's sort of like fast food bread.
Yes.
And I believe that that's, you know, that does affect, you know, impact on gut health and stuff. Those natural enzymes is one had there. I know myself, my own baking of bread, I do a long slow proof, and the flavour is completely, you know, it's beautiful flavour.
That's very interesting. Tanya, are you still with us?
Oh, yes, I'm back.
Okay. Oh, you are. You talking about bread. Did you hear what Gillian said there about when she bakes bread? Do you bake bread?
I don't often anymore. I don't really. No.
Okay, short answer. That's easy. We were just talking, I'm not sure if you heard what we were talking there about the variety of wheat, and Quentin was talking about how often the process, it's the variety that's available in organic wheat, but it's also the processes that it goes through in the processing, you know, like if it's manufactured food, then
yes.
Process.
I know they do make a huge difference in baking bread. The process that you use to treat wheat. Yes, it's very interesting hearing wheat farmers talking about that.
Yeah. So often it's that, you know, it's not necessarily the wheat; it's the actual baking process. There's a part of that how to use natural yeast and so on in the air to create that rise and fast tracking some of that. There's a lot of benefit
that we miss out on.
Which is really important for our gut health.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. And, something else that I saw recently, and this is deviating somewhat, but a report came out in the States about a connection between gluten sensitivity and GMO. And even though there is no actual commercially grown GMO wheat, what is happening is that people are eating commercially grown corn, commercially grown canola oil, it's GMO, and that's having an impact on gut health. And there has been this research that indicates there's no GMO research on humans, so that means that GMO scientists can say that it's safe for humans because there's no research proving otherwise. However, there is plenty of research on lab animals that indicates, and pigs as well, that indicates that it causes issues for the gut, and whether that's related to the levels of pesticide, the Roundup that's used, and there's definitely relationships between pesticides and problems like Parkinson's disease. There's definitely, they've drawn connections in humans between those things. But one of the things that this report suggests is that eating GMO foods is increasing people's gut permeability, and that is making them more susceptible to gluten issues. So there's been a huge increase in the last 10 years in people in the States with gluten sensitivity. Like I said, 18 million people, which is a very huge portion of the population. So there is this thing, that this combination of GMO foodstuffs like corn and commercially processed wheat products, which we eat huge quantities of, or that people generally eat huge quantities of. We try to avoid eating huge quantities of commercially processed
I think you said wheat products. We avoid eating.
No, we avoid. Yeah. But that combination of the GMO foods that munching down on those corn chips that were created in the US, and this thing about eating white bread comes in a plastic bag. That's a recipe for gut disaster, let's say. So that's an interesting way to think about it. It's a synergy of things. It's not simply one thing, like wheat's problem. It's a synergy of the stuff that we're eating that's affecting our guts. And that makes sense because that's how the world, that's soil biodiversity in farming, There's something, as farmers, and this is where we could bring you in, Matt, as a dairy farmer. I know that certainly with milk, what the cow eats, or the kind of grass that the cow is eating, makes a real difference to the kind of milk that you're getting, and that certain types of pastures produce different kinds of milk, and obviously certain types of soils are going to produce better pastures. There's all this stuff about the great saturated fats that we're getting in our animal products when our cattle are eating grass, pastured grass, and then they're making milk, and we get butter out of that. And butter's butter from the right kind of pastured cattle is one of the best sources of vitamin K.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's there, and vitamin D. So, these are really important synergistic vitamins. So, Matt, if you're with us, would you like to talk a little bit about how your organic farming methods differ from conventional dairy farming methods? You have to unmute yourself now.
Sorry, Sheridan, but Matt
Problem all
said
day
that...
with muting and unmuting.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Sheridan?
Yes.
We had Matt sent a message that his computer shut down because YouTube overloaded it.
Oh no!
I know. I know.
Oh well, gee. Well, it's not much you can do about technology.
No,
yes. Yeah. So how are people going with their cake, whether it's come out of the oven? Oh, we can't both leave this freezer at once. We're going to leave it with no one here. So, Gwen or Rob, is there anything else you'd like to say about wheat or farming, GMOs or sustainability, or anything like that?
Yeah, you were talking earlier about wheat flour and maize flour. I think we sort of caught the end of that. And what is traditionally known as corn flour is actually made from wheat in some cases, and is the starch left over when they remove the protein. Whereas corn, I think they also make corn flour from corn, but our flours, when we refer to something that's made from corn or maize, we call it maize flour, which is also used to make or polenta, but polenta is just a coarser form of maize flour. So there's a bit of a misconception out there that corn flour is always made from corn. In actual fact, it's not.
Oh, that's interesting, because that was my question before when you actually weren't here. Because Tanya was talking about corn flour, and she was talking about the wheaten type of corn flour, and we were talking about its use as starch. And yes, and I said, well, is it corn? And okay, so you've answered that question. It's not actually corn. It's like a what we call it, a stream or an ox.
What it is you have the protein is removed from wheat flour, and what you get left with is basically the starch, which is otherwise known as corn flour. So it's starch essentially. And sometimes they do make it from maize as well. Same process. They remove the protein, and what's left is starch. So you can have it made from maize, but normally, or in the majority, it's made from wheat. So it's wheaten corn flour, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's what Tanya was referring to it before as wheaten.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. But at Kialla, we're not going to be doing that kind of thing, are we? Essentially, you don't produce wheat flour. So what happens to that starch in Kialla's wheat?
Well, it's all in the. We don't remove anything when we process wheat flour. We don't remove anything. That's a fairly high. It's a specific process to produce protein or gluten, which are the same thing, and starch. They use water or something to separate it. I'm not familiar with it.
Right. Okay. Yes. Okay. So that means that and that was one of the things I said before too. That I actually that one of the things that with the Kialla flour is that it really even the white flour is still pretty much integral wheat, the wheat grain itself. You've removed the bran, I believe, for the plain white flour.
Yeah, all we do is remove about, for a white sifted flour, like the cake flour tonight or a white unbleached, all we do is remove about 20%, which is the bran layers, and that produces the white fine flour that you buy. Our stone ground flour has the bran, is the total whole grain intact. So that's our stone ground flours, but they're a lot more dense and don't rise as much as a white flour, and that's as a result of the bran flakes or remaining in the flour, and they don't allow the air bubbles to expand as much because the bran perforates the air bubble, so it doesn't rise as much. You don't get as much rise from a stone ground flour as you do a white sifted flour.
Okay. So Gillian, what would be a good cake to make a stone ground flour? Well,
you could certainly use it, but I'm not sure what type of flour. High protein.
Yeah, it's a standard. It's like a standard high protein flour, stone ground flour.
Yeah, it is. Our stone ground flour is made from slightly higher protein wheat, so that it does have that a little bit extra lift.
Yeah, it's the gluten allows it to. But I would actually produce, and I've actually tried it, I'll try it making scones, believe it or not. Yeah, I use a stronger, higher protein flour
Well, that makes sense because they're very bread-like.
Well, yeah, but I want them light, but I want the rise. And that allows me to get a really hard rise.
So we have, okay.
Well, I just wanted, because people are always interested about, you know, the finishing, like, how do I know when it's ready? So this is all I'm doing. I'm just sticking the skewer in there, and you see there's nothing really on it, and I can just feel it's damp because I still want moisture in my cake, but there's no batter on there. You know, there's no. So that's ready. So so basically.
Look at that.
Can I just ask a question, Gillian? We missed out earlier. What's the idea of the cardboard around the cake? Why did you do
Well,
that?
it's sort of like, it's like a little esky for the cake. It's a bit of insulation. Because what you're wanting to do, because the sides of the cake tin are metal, and the cake is heating up in the oven, the sides get hotter quicker than the centre. And what that means is what will happen to your cake, the side sets before too early in the process. So what happens, you get a short side and a domey top. So by doing this, what you're doing is actually protecting the sides of it. So you're trying to even out the heating process, the cooking process throughout the batter. So the centre is, the sides are coming at the side. So that's why you get an even rise. Try that with your cake by lining your tin, and that's all you're doing. You're just understanding that the process of baking is that the hotter areas are going to cook first. So you're just insulating the sides so that you're trying to even out how it's cooking.
Fantastic. That's very interesting. I missed that bit earlier as well.
Yeah. So what I'll do is just grab one of those little brushes. Anyone know which one? And I just do this while it's warm because it was so through.
So I'm wondering if everyone out there, has your cake come out of the oven yet?
Oh, I didn't even look at what time we went in. It's probably beyond the hour and a half. But if yours is still going, don't worry. And just wait for that. It will be ready.
Oh, Amy's cake's finished.
Okay. Please take pictures of your cakes. It would be really lovely to see people's cakes.
Kenny's cake's finished. Excellent.
See, that's just. Can you see how tender and soft that? There's no hard crusty tops.
Yeah, that's great. It's like
which is what you want for your bread.
Yes,
hard crusty top. You don't want that thick cake. Otherwise, sometimes you have to cut the top off because it's so thick.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. So this, and then it also keeps it nice and moist and soft. It smells gorgeous. You haven't got smell-o-vision yet.
No, sorry, we can't transmit that through the internet.
Yeah, but it's
so Whisper, who have we still got with us? Quentin and Rob and Tanya.
And Tanya, Quentin, Rob, and Tanya. So.
Well, we have the cake.
Yeah, slowly over time.
There we go. And I'd really like to thank Tanya. Thank you for sticking in there.
Yeah,
the whole way. Excellent job. And Quentin and Rob, thank you too for persevering and getting on, finally getting on so we can hear all about the wheat, because I certainly didn't know enough about the wheat to talk about it. And we have a cake. So to everyone who's joined in our Bake-along and who now has a fabulous cake, congratulations. And thank you to you, Gillian.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It was so lovely to just chat about cake and to be baking on my favourite topic. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes. Thank you. Bye. See you at our next Bake-along.
Yeah. Oh.
Bye.